Vienna, Ernst-Happel Stadium, June 29, 2008. An evening that would be carved into the memory of German football forever. Germany had reached the European Championship final, and an entire nation believed this was their night. 2 years earlier, the heartbreak of the 2006 World Cup semi-final had left deep scars. Now, the dream was to heal those wounds with a trophy. Millions were in front of their TVs. Black, red, gold flags filled the streets. The energy. Now it is our time. But waiting that night was an opponent that would change football itself, Spain. The German team arrived with confidence, powered by Michael Ballack's leadership, the fire of Bastian Schweinsteiger, the pace of Lucas Podolski. They had beaten Portugal in the quarter-finals, fought past Turkey in the semi-final. It was a tournament built on willpower and tradition, the classic German strengths. But Spain brought something else: elegance, lightness, control. A style that was not based on force, but on suffocating possession. With Xavi, Iniesta, Silva pulling the strings, and up front, Fernando Torres, hungry, quick, deadly. From the first minutes it was clear, this was not going to be the usual clash of power versus technique. Spain made the ball their own, refusing to let it go. Germany chased, pressed, fought, but always a step late. And then came the 33rd minute. A pass from Xavi, perfectly weighted. Torres sprinted through. Philipp Lahm tried to cut him off, sliding desperately, but the Spaniard brushed him aside, touched the ball past Jens Lehmann, and lifted it into the net. 1-0. Spain was in front. It wasn't just a goal, it was a declaration. At that moment, a dream didn't just collapse, it shattered. Millions of German fans fell silent. This wasn't luck, this wasn't a fluke. This was a system, a plan, a new order in football. Germany tried to respond. Ballack rose for a header. Schweinsteiger curled a free kick. Podolski blasted from distance, but every flicker of hope was extinguished by Spanish control. Pass after pass, triangle after triangle, Spain moved the ball like a machine, while Germany were reduced to chasing shadows. The final whistle came like a slow knife. Spain erupted in jubilation, as if they had conquered the world. For Germany, it felt as though the world had collapsed. The dream was gone. It was more than a defeat. It was the beginning of a new era of dominance, not German, but Spanish. They would go on to win the 2010 World Cup, then the 2012 European Championship. And Germany, time and again, found themselves looking up at the red wall of Spain. That night in Vienna was more than a lost final. It was a warning, a reminder that the old ways, fight, willpower, strength, were no longer enough. Against control, patience and creativity, brute force looked outdated. Players admitted it later. Philipp Lahm said, "It showed us we had to change." Michael Ballack described it as an evening where you could feel the future. And that was exactly what it was. A night that didn't just cost a title, it changed the trajectory of German football. For fans, the pain was more than disappointment. It was helplessness. They had seen their team fight, seen them chase, seen them bleed, but Spain was simply better. That realization that Germany was not beaten by bad luck, but by a superior style, cut deeper than any narrow loss. It was the first fracture in the dream, a small crack that would widen over the coming years. Spain would continue to dominate, and Germany would continue to chase, until the collapse in 2018 turned a fracture into a breaking point. But it all began that night in Vienna, when one run, one touch, one goal by Torres ripped open the dream and changed European football forever. Kazan, Russia, June 27, 2018. Germany against South Korea. On paper, it looked like a simple task, but it turned into one of the darkest nights in German football history. The situation was clear. After losing to Mexico and a last-minute win against Sweden, only victory would secure the round of 16. Germany, the reigning World Cup champion from 2014, stood with its back against the wall. Yet most still believed, in the end, they will find a way. This is Germany after all. The players looked focused. Joachim Löw trusted his experienced core, leaned on possession football, the system that had made Germany great. The fans in the stands, the millions watching around the world, everyone expected a German comeback. If not now, when? But from the opening minutes, something felt wrong. South Korea defended with discipline, intensity, and bravery. Every ball was chased, every duel fought. Germany held possession, passed, combined, but there was no penetration, no pace, no spark. The first half passed without a goal. Chances came and went, shots blocked, Crosses misdirected. It became a pattern. Possession without purpose. Commentators warned, this is dangerous. This is not how you play when everything is on the line. Nervousness spread among the fans. This wasn't the Germany of 2014. This wasn't the team that crushed Brazil or lifted the trophy in Rio. This was a side searching and failing to find. The second half began, and with every passing minute, frustration grew. Werner missed wide. Hummels headed over. Kroos looked slow, unable to dictate. The clock ticked. The tension suffocated. Body language told the story. Heads dropped. The energy drained. South Korea, meanwhile, grew stronger. Every defensive stand fed their belief. They were not just holding on. They started to think, we can win this. 90th minute, still 0-0. Germany pushed everything forward. Neuer stormed into midfield, desperate to create. It was chaos, not control. Desperation football. Then, the dagger. A scramble, a loose ball. And suddenly, it was in the German net. 1-0 South Korea. Kim Young-gwon. The referee paused, checked VAR. Seconds stretched into eternity. And then, the goal stood. The stadium erupted, not with German relief, but with disbelief. Millions at home went silent. The world had just witnessed the collapse of the champion. But the nightmare wasn't over. In stoppage time, with Germany completely exposed, Neuer lost the ball high upfield. Son sprinted clear. He rolled it into the empty net. 2-0. Final humiliation. It wasn't just a defeat, it was history. The first time Germany had ever gone out in the group stage of a World Cup. A collapse not seen before. A collective shock that rippled through the country. Players collapsed to the ground, unable to hide their emotions. Silence in the stands. Shock across Germany. The next day, the headlines were brutal. Disgrace in Kazan. World champions humiliated. Out. Over. Finished. No one was spared. Not the coach, not the players, not the federation. For fans, it was more than disappointment. It was identity ripped away. This wasn't just Germany losing, it was Germany collapsing. For decades, Germans had trusted in their team's resilience. Quarter-finals at minimum, semi-finals expected, titles always possible. And here, a group stage exit against South Korea. Psychologists described it as collective trauma. Experts said it was not just sport, it was cultural shock. The World Cup exit of 2018 was not simply a loss. It was a symbol of arrogance, of clinging to the past, of failing to adapt. It was proof even champions can fall, and sometimes they fall harder than anyone could imagine. For Germany, that night in Kazan was the moment the dream was ripped apart, brutally, suddenly, historically. Khalifa International Stadium, Doha, November 23rd, 2022. Germany against Japan, an opening match that was supposed to rebuild trust. After the disaster of 2018, the team wanted redemption. Victory against Japan, it was expected, it was mandatory, a clear signal, we are back. The starting 11 looked strong. Neuer, Kimmich, Gundogan, Musiala, Havertz, a blend of experience and youthful brilliance. Coach Hansi Flick spoke of courage, tempo, dominance. Millions of fans believed this was the first step toward restoring pride. The opening minutes belonged to Germany. Possession, pressure, chances. Gundogan orchestrated. Musiala danced past defenders. Kimmich spread passes. It looked like a return to the old German way. Control, authority, confidence. Then came the 33rd minute. A foul in the box. Penalty for Germany. Gundogan stepped up. Calm, precise, and buried it. 1-0. Celebration in the stadium. Relief across Germany. The ghosts of 2018 seem to fade. But in football, one goal is never enough when you underestimate your opponent. Germany pressed, created more chances, but failed to kill the game. Havertz offside. Musiala hesitating. Gundogan hitting the post. Instead of 2-0, it stayed 1-0, and Japan stayed alive. The second half began, and suddenly the tide shifted. Japan grew bolder. They pressed higher, attacked with more aggression, moved with sharp purpose. Germany looked surprised, even rattled. The body language changed. While Japan rose, Germany shrank. Passes went astray. Tackles were lost. Confidence drained. It was as if an invisible weight dragged them down. 75th minute, a fast Japanese attack, chaos in the box, the ball fell to Ritsu Doan, he smashed it in, 101, silence, shock, a deja vu that nobody wanted to believe. There was still time, but Germany froze. And then came the 83rd minute, a long ball over the top, a hesitant defense. Takuma Asano sprinted clear, drove into the box, and fired past Neuer. 2-1, Japan in front. The stadium exploded, not in German joy, but in Japanese ecstasy. On the terraces, fans jumped, screamed, cried. Back home in Germany, millions sat in stunned silence. How could it happen again? The final minutes were frantic. Crosses flew in, shots blocked, corners wasted, but the equalizer never came. The whistle blew, not just ending the game, but ending the illusion. It was a mirror of 2018. Then it was South Korea, now Japan, then arrogance, now naivety. Different tournament, same collapse. The headlines were brutal, disgrace, again. From world champions to broken, the next debacle. Players admitted their despair. Kimmich said, "This cannot happen," and yet it did. Musiala looked crushed. We had everything under control, and we gave it away. For fans, it felt like an open wound. Just as the pain of 2018 was starting to heal, another dagger struck, another group stage humiliation, another outsider delivering heartbreak. The match against Japan became a symbol that the trauma of 2018 had never been healed, a symbol of lost strength, a symbol of the end of an era when Germany dominated tournaments. For decades, Germany was a synonym for tournament football. 1954, 1974, 1990, 2014. Each of those years meant more than just a trophy. They were part of an identity. Germany, the team that never gave up. Germany, the team that always found a way to win. But the last years have shown a different truth. Even myths can break. The final of 2008, the collapse of 2018, the defeat of 2022, each of them tore pieces from the dream. What once felt like certainty now feels like doubt. What once was pride has turned into fragility. 2008 against Spain, that was the beginning. The night Germany realized willpower alone was not enough. 2018 against South Korea, that was the shock. The moment when the world laughed and Germany cried. 2022 against Japan, that was the confirmation. Proof that the dream was not broken by chance, but by deeper structural flaws. And yet, that is where symbolism lies. Defeats are not only losses, they are lessons. In 1954, no one believed in Germany, and the miracle of Bern was born. In 2000, Germany crashed out of the Euros, and out of that humiliation, a golden generation was built. Maybe 2018 and 2022 are not endings either. Maybe they are beginnings, painful, brutal beginnings, but necessary ones. Perhaps they are the cracks out of which something stronger will grow. Because football is more than tactics, football is psychology. When a team loses a tournament, it doesn't just lose games, it loses trust. And trust is the foundation on which champions are built. Germany has lost trust. The players, the fans, the nation. But history shows trust can return with courage, with discipline, with a vision greater than the fear of failing again. Today, German football stands at a crossroads. One road leads backwards, clinging to the past. The other road leads forwards, into uncertainty, but also into possibility. Perhaps the next golden generation is already forming. Perhaps the kids who cried in 2018 are now playing on the streets, dreaming of doing better. Football thrives on cycles, on collapses and rebirths, on tears and triumphs. The moment that ripped Germany out of the World Cup dream, it was brutal, cruel, unforgettable. But it may also be the seed of a new chapter, a chapter not yet written. And now it's your turn. Which of these defeats hurt you the most? Was it the Euro 2008 final, the World Cup group stage exit in 2018, or the collapse against Japan in 2022? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next great stories that shape the game. And never forget, football is not just a game. Football is hope. Football is pain. Football is the story we all write together.